So B4G was all about decay, things that speed up the rate of decay and how we can reduce it. So we'll start off with some of the things that speed up decay. So we heard about detritivores and saprophytes. So detritivores are things like woodlice and earthworms that eat the food, eat the rotting material, break it down, digest it, increasing the surface area and speeding up decay. Saprophytes, things like fungi and mushrooms, which excrete enzymes onto the decaying material so that they can then take it in through their cells. That's called extracellular digestion. So some of the other factors that speed up decay is presence of water, temperature, and oxygen. Water is required for the saprophytes to carry out their extracellular digestion, so that will help to speed it up because of that. Temperature, things like fungi operate better at 25 degrees, and the detritivores will likely operate better at 37 degrees. That's because of the enzymes that they have, so they will work best at those temperatures. So around there will be the optimum conditions for decay. And obviously the presence for oxygen, as these are living organisms. So if we move on to ways that we can preserve food, we come across ways of reducing or changing these factors so they're in a better condition so that we can keep our food for longer. So some of the ways of preserving food is we can change the pH, we can cool the food, we can dry the food, we can go a step further than cooling and we can freeze the food, we can add salt and sugar, and finally we can can the food. So you need to know about how these factors will reduce the rate of decay. So changing the pH will change the conditions that these microorganisms will work at to break it down. So for example, pH bacteria, most bacteria wouldn't want to operate in an acidic condition. So if you add vinegar to it, then that will alter the pH and it will make it more difficult for those organisms to work and therefore preserve the food. Cooling it down will change these temperatures so that these organisms can't operate at their optimum temperatures. So if you remember, optimum temperature is when they're working the fastest. If you change it from that temperature, then they won't be able to work as quickly, and therefore your food will last for longer. If you dry out the food, then you remove the water so that these things don't have anything to operate in, and that will cause the food to last for longer. If you freeze it, it will essentially put things like bacteria into like stasis so that they can't operate anymore. They'll stop reproducing, it will slow them down massively. You've changed these optimum temperatures and then your food will last for a lot longer. If you take your food out, then it will give chance for bacteria to multiply, and you can't then freeze it after that point because you would have frozen it with all the bacteria at that point. Salting and adding sugar, this affects osmosis. Both of them affect osmosis, which we did about in one of the earlier topics. So because of that, these organisms, the water will move out of them into the solution that they're in because of the presence of salt and sugar. So that will cause them to die or not be able to operate at the conditions that they would want to work at, the optimum conditions. Finally, canning it removes oxygen, and you can change any conditions in there and you can keep those conditions, so you can seal them in a vacuum condition. So those things there are the key points from B4G. You can add your own notes, you can do your own spider diagram as part of your revision.